Uh, well, hello. Here we are with podcast number six,
Five?
7, 8,
Something?
5.
Time flies when you're having a good time. That's all I'll
There
say.
you go. I like that. That's a good number.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So, Ashley, welcome again. I really enjoy this,
I
and
do too.
this is my favorite day of the week.
Me too.
Yay! So we were talking about beyond quantum healing.
Yes, yes. I wanted to ask you because I know you had brought it up last episode, a couple episodes ago, Blur's Day. And I know I had talked a little bit about sessions that I've had with you. For our listeners that may be just tuning in and maybe aren't sure and haven't checked out your website. What is BQH or Beyond Quantum Healing? What does that mean to you? What does that look like for you as a practitioner? Um, do you feel it is better than other modalities or other services that you may offer? Just let's dive into what is Beyond Quantum Healing.
Well, it is referred to as BQH. And what's interesting about this is I never even heard of it. And I was in a meditation one time and I
Mhm.
kept hearing quantum healing. And I'm like, what the heck is that? I have no idea what that is. So I'm doing my research. Google is your best friend, right? Then they
Sometimes.
kept, yeah, right about that. But then they kept referring to Deepak Chopra.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So I bought his book and I'm reading this book and it was so specific and so technical.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, I don't know. I just couldn't really get into it. And I had this friend of mine and we were talking to her about it and she goes, oh, I've got a friend. Of course, everybody's got a friend that does BQH. Would you like to talk to her? I'm like, yeah, why not? So I got in touch with this lady and she was talking about Julia Cannon. You know who she is?
Yep.
Dolores
Is that
Cannon.
Dolores Cannon's daughter or granddaughter or
Yes,
something? Okay,
it's
okay.
her daughter. Well, they've been working on projects together for eon, and when the mother died, Julia took over and she developed this technique to do BQH online. You can do it in person too, but there's a specific way to do these things differently.
Hmm.
And I fell in love. I just fell in love because it's like I can, as a practitioner, I can see my client changing in the middle, right in the session, like realization. I can see the healings happening. We can talk to the higher selves. We can talk to their inner child, their future selves, past lives. And there's been some who have actually had galactic, the alien.
Oh, galactical, like I
Yeah,
think that's what's called galactical.
yeah. No, but that is, and it's very intriguing to me because what we're doing is we're bringing all of these energies together into your awareness so you can understand your grief that you have no idea where it came from,
Mm.
or have access to memories like your Akashic records, like why is this happening in my life? Or why do I have this illness or dis-ease? Or why do I have this thought in my head constantly? And it's the realization of something that they thought they have healed come to their awareness so that they can work on it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Your body knows.
Oh yeah. I had mentioned a book, one of our first podcasts. I think we touched upon like healing modalities and things that kind of got us onto this path. And there was a book that I had read. It took me a while to read it because it's another scientific-y,
Yeah.
very wordy, um, type of book, and it's called The Body Keeps the Score, and it goes on to how again, we're going to use this word trauma, but it doesn't have to be something so extreme. It could be something you know, um, as small, and I put that in parentheses just because people have different perspectives on what traumas are supposed to be and what they look like, because that's what society has conditioned us to. But something as small as, getting bit by a dog or getting yelled at by a parent or
Yeah.
failing a test that was really important for whatever next step in your life as an academic, someone going through academics or anything, something like that that's traumatic to you, your mind, your emotions store that energy and that um feeling that you gave to the reaction of
Yeah.
whatever that trauma or that situation or occurrence that happened. Your body remembers that. And
Yeah.
would you say, like, as a practitioner, you said that you see like your clients changing and you see your clients coming to these realizations as you're working on them. Do you see it like energetically? Do you see like a shift in like
Oh,
aura or something
oh,
as you're working on them? Or like what is that experience? What does that
it
look like?
definitely energetically, and then the looks on their faces, especially, when they come to a realization and their whole face just lights up. I see a lot of color when I work with people, and
Mm.
I see a lot of, like, our spirit team together, their ancestors. What quantum healing is you bring in the past from your ancestors all the way up through the present moment. You bring in your past lives and all the way up to your present moment. You bring in your future and all the way to the present moment. And what you're trying to do is not change the story, but be more open to the experiences so that you can move forward. Yeah.
Ah,
So you can move
interesting.
forward with your confidence and get yourself more, well, that happened. It sucks, but I'm okay now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And sending love to that. That's my most favorite part thing too. So when somebody finds trauma in their past lives or in their past, in their childhood or whatever, I send healing to it. Me and her higher self or their spirit team will all get together and we'll send healing to that moment so that it's not so profound now. Excuse me. You know what
It's
I
that
mean?
energy working through you.
I'm telling you, I've been doing a lot of self healing myself, and it comes out in crazy ways. But
I would say you're
mm,
working on healing parts of like your childhood, right? So like that's like
yes,
energy in motion as we're speaking, literally.
yes. So it's my childhood. I had a good childhood. I had a very loving, welcoming childhood, but there was a lot of sicknesses and illnesses, even up to today, where I'm always constantly battling something,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my body's way of getting this out while not letting me know why. And that's okay. I send that love and energy and healing. Like, what is it that I don't want to see? What is it I'm not hearing? What is it that I'm not accepting? And my body, for whatever reason, is saying, nope, you're not going to know this, but we're going to work on the energy of it. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's okay because if you sometimes it can be more detrimental in your journey rather than helpful.
As
And
far as like
I want to move.
remembering.
Yeah, as far as
Okay.
remembering what it could be. Because believe me, the life is hard enough. If there's something there that you might not be able to get over,
Mm-hmm.
then it's okay. Let's just send that love. Let's just work on the energy part of it so that we can keep moving forward and stop all these colds that keep happening.
Well, and I think we touched upon this too. It's like ringing a bell. I think it was during our inner child healing episode, just a lot of people that start this journey have stuff in their childhood that they need to work through. And like I had brought up specifically like and we discovered this in a BQH session,
Yeah.
where my inner child put me in a cave, an energetic cave where I couldn't see anything. I couldn't find a light switch. I couldn't see, the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And there's obviously something in my childhood that my inner child is protecting my adult self from. And I was re-listening to that episode and I had mentioned that, well, maybe because my adult self tries to see the good and the light in people and like recognize like there are wounds and there are hurts and there are diseases and things that are manifesting as a physical something or other in that person's life that they need to bring light to and bring, love and forgiveness and compassion to. And
Mhm.
I try to just send people, like, I see that you're probably going through something that you're not talking to me about, you're not telling anyone else about, you don't have to talk to me about it, but I recognize you're struggling. And I think whatever happened, whatever it may have been, my inner child is like, I don't want to share what happened, whatever that perspective is, because that might change the way that I'm living my life right now as an adult. That might
Yes.
change the trajectory of the way that I'm carrying myself as an adult. And I'd like to think that, if I were to remember something, it's not going to change, but I'm also human and I have emotions and
Yes.
maybe my inner child recognizes like everything is going to change. So just send it love and we'll work on it, from there. And
Yes.
I know that you and I have done extensive amount of work as far as sending love and healing to like my inner child through BQH sessions. And I will say I didn't know what BQH was. And I think, because I started seeing you for email readings and you had mentioned, oh, here's my website. And I went through your services just to see, because again, you're like one of the first few people that I like worked with energetically on this journey. And I had asked you, I was like, oh, well, what's this BQH? And I was like, it's very interesting. And I don't remember because I know that you've changed descriptions and the way that services are offered or, how you deliver them now
Yeah.
that you've grown and stuff. And I asked you, like, what is a BQH session? And you were so excited about it. And you're like, it's so hard to put into words. There's so much. And truthfully, there is like so much.
Well, yeah, and not a lot of people inquire about it. They ask about all my other services, the email
Mhm,
reading, the mediumship, the spiritual integration, energy healing, all of that. But then when it comes to BQH, you're like, and that's like, so it's so healing, and
mhm,
you go into a deep meditative state, which they call light hypnosis.
mhm,
And we ask guidance from your higher self, from your spirit team, your spirit guides, everybody to come forward, your ancestors, to help us bring you to a point where you need to acknowledge and where you need healing. Maybe
mhm,
not remembering, but come to a point in your life where you were in a cave. We were just starting out on that journey, and I
mhm,
feel like
mhm,
if we would have sent that cave love and healing in a substance of that cave
mhm,
rather than trying to break out of it right away, it might have been a little bit easier for you. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But then I feel like you probably wouldn't have worked as hard to get to where you were today. So everything happens for a reason, you
sure
know?
does.
So yeah.
It sure does.
And I do a lot of this stuff online. And there's a specific way to do it online in case there's interruptions or
Mhm,
disruptions, and you're in a safe space, and through all my experiences, everyone is different. Everyone is different.
mhm,
And I can tell
mhm,
you
mhm.
know, so, um, it's really is a fun, thing as a practitioner to watch and hear all these different experiences. Some of them will blow your mind. You're just
Oh, sure.
like, really? Okay, you can't make this stuff up, you know?
Would you say with each session, do you would you say that you like prep your clients at all, or do
Oh, yes.
you
Yes.
like talk about intentions? Is
Yeah.
there like with each session, like I don't want to say like go through a typical session on how you would do a BQH because you said it's different for everybody and
Well,
you're getting guidance. So
yes.
how would you prepare someone who may be interested in trying BQH? Like what would give us your pitch?
Well, what I like to do, I send them videos. I think I sent you videos, and I from
Mm,
YouTube on how to prepare.
yep.
And then we get together and we have what's called water intention. We have a glass of
Mm,
water, and you put your intention in the water, and then you drink it. And then I do it too for
yep.
my intentions as a practitioner. We talk about what you want to accomplish. What are your goals for this session? And we'll talk about like in your case, you wanted the inner child to
Hmm.
tell you or show you what you needed to know. And she just put you in that cave because she's like, you're not ready. Well,
Yep.
she wasn't ready, but it was a
Yep.
whole, yeah. So it was a whole process with you. And it did take a couple of tries, didn't
Hmm.
it?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I always begin with the intention. And if somebody wants to go to a past life, then there's a whole script for that. If there's
Hmm.
somebody who wants to go to the future, there's or we leave it to the higher self. Bring me to where I need to know right now, and it could be anywhere, you know. And then you just go along with that.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's never the same.
No, and I can talk on that too, because I have gotten, gosh, a handful now of BQH sessions with you. Specifically, I think starting the first few sessions with you, I didn't really focus in on the inner child, but I think that's because I didn't know what the inner child was when I
Okay.
started healing with you. I think I heard it and I was like, I had a good childhood. Like I was taken care of. Like I'm good. I don't really have many memories of my childhood, but I remember that it was good, the ones that I do remember, and like the first few maybe I wasn't as clear with my intention, or maybe I just was just being super open, but I don't remember and I remember that you recorded them, so I'm sure I have them in my email somewhere. But I remember going into a meditation and the visualization scripts and stuff that you were bringing to the meditation were just, I remember being so beautiful. And the first few sessions, I didn't really see anything as far as like in your mind's eye. That's when we came across the cave, and we've worked very hard to make my inner child feel safe to do this type of work.
Yes.
And, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, sometimes you just don't know what those things are that close off, your abilities and things like that. And I I'll speak back to one of the first sessions that you and I had done together. I remember you describing, something. It was supposed to be like this very beautiful scene. I was in the cave. I was telling you, like, what do you mean you're in a cave? And I was like, I'm just like, I just see black. It feels like rock. I'm not sure. Um, but I don't see anything. And you're like, you don't see anything? And you're like, I don't know what to do in this situation. And I
I
was like,
think
I don't know either.
you were one of my first clients to do that. And I was like, oh man, well, I was just a baby then, like just
Yes.
starting out with this and like,
Yeah,
oh
because I
man.
remember I remember you saying too, like when we had joined the Zoom or whatever, you're like one of my first clients, like, so let's see how this goes. And I was like, cool, all right. Um, but like one of the first sessions we found out the cave, and then we like were able somehow to transport, like you switched to meditation somehow, some way. And you had asked me, okay, do you see anything? Mountains, and I could see like this cute little like cobblestone house looking thing. It had a fence around it. There were wildflowers. And now I'm kind of like in Colorado and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I see those things all the time. And maybe that's what I was seeing in these
Oh,
beyond quantum healing sessions.
yes.
Because at the time we were living in Illinois, we had a house and my husband and I, we were manifesting van life and being out in the mountains and things like that. So,
Here you
that's
are.
kind of like a cool connection. But I remember you had me walk into the house, describe like what I was seeing inside the house, and I was able to do that. And then you had me grab like a newspaper. You're like, well, what is the date? I remember you
Oh,
specifically asked me like,
yeah.
what is the date? And I was like, I have no idea. How do I find out what the date is? And you're like, well, see if you can see like a kitchen table and see if you can see like a newspaper. And I was like, okay. And I like in my mind's eye walked over to the kitchen table and I was seeing a newspaper on the table and I was like, okay. And you're like, pick it up. What does it say? And I was like, all I could see like in bold was like 1974. And that was the date. There was no month, there was no day. I couldn't see anything else that was on the paper, but it looked like a newspaper, just 1974 with the date I could see. And you're like, do you have any significance to 1974? And I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And even to this day, like I'll think about it randomly. Um, like uh, just vivid details I remember from those sessions. And I'm like, okay, well, what does 1974 have to do with anything? And maybe it was a
Yeah.
past life. I don't know. Maybe there's some significance, like, you have talked about in a previous episode, like when we start healing ourselves, not only are we healing ourselves from, like past in the childhood and future, but we're also healing like our past selves that we have now reincarnated to, if you subscribe to that. And now where was I going with all of that?
We heal our ancestors too, and all of it
Yeah.
comes together.
And so, like, with your Beyond Quantum Healing sessions, like, you may not know, like, again, this 1974, what does that significance have to me? Why was that coming up in my healing? I don't know, but obviously I needed to send love to it. So I did.
Yeah.
And the last session that we had done together was specifically for the inner child. And for those listeners who are listening, Laura Lyra is doing a mediumship. I know we're kind of switching gears a little bit, but it kind of ties in. She's doing a mediumship mentorship program, and I'm very interested in continuing studying underneath Lyra. And um, I had told Lyra, like, I really want to do this. Like, I feel ready to do it. But there's still something in me, in that inner child, that is like resistive. And I had
Yeah.
asked her, is there a way that we could maybe do a beyond quantum healing session to connect with my inner child and ask her, like, are you like, I'm ready as the adult to tap into these things and to heal parts of me so that I can step into this. um and you had come up with, you're like, oh, I haven't really done something like this before, but we can tailor it to make sure that she's okay, she feels safe. And we asked specifically, like, what do I need to heal in order to move on and do this type of program and this certification. I was able to do Reiki healing with you. And I feel like just I'm very drawn to this next step. And your session just like it just like opened up and I just feel very connected to my inner child. Like I always knew I wanted to do this, but there's those things that happened in childhood that we talked about in the inner child experience where I shut down all of that.
Yeah.
And BQH has allowed me to see like the last session that you and I had done together. It came out that something happened in my childhood, and I do remember this both consciously and unconsciously. Something happened, and I hid for a whole entire day, and like my parents couldn't find me. I was in the house, I was safe, everything was like fine. But it came out like when we were talking to my inner child that I was scared to be seen and heard because I had, made a noise or whatever, and I got in
Yeah.
trouble as a kid. And so like that was huge because then in my current life, like, okay, that happened in childhood, and I very vividly remember as a child that day. I just never could process or never gave the time and space to like uh yeah, I guess process emotions in that moment of what was happening. And then I shrunk myself into the box. I didn't want to be seen.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be heard.
Yeah.
And now, being an adult, I'm going through a lot of different transitions in my life to where I'm being put into and guided into situations where I have to be seen and heard.
Yes. Yes. And actually, not to take away from your story, but
No, please add to it.
it's kind of the same with me. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
physically have blind spots. I have hearing impairment. I am not seen or heard, and now I am being pushed into a position where I'm very, very uncomfortable. I'm just going to put it out there,
Sure.
but I'm learning to embrace it
Hmm.
so that I can. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm going to do what I need to do to heal myself, get myself in front and center. And you guys are going to be seeing me everywhere. I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to probably be like, I don't know, but here I am. Here I am, you know? But yeah, you brought up the mentorship. This is something I'm super, super excited about because I'm going from A to Z. I'm going through all the steps here.
Hmm.
We are doing shadow work. We are learning about energy healing. I have an opportunity for all of us to sign up for one-on-one BQH session so
Mm.
that we can travel. Because part of mediumship, part of doing reading, part of doing all this stuff is doing the inner work too.
Hmm.
Because how can we be an open channel if we're congested with all this energy that we can't heal or
Like
go
stuck.
forward? Yeah. And that was the other thing I wanted to bring up too. Energy. There was a story that I heard, I think from Julia Cannon, where the guy had a leg problem,
Hmm.
and they did a BQH session, and the guy could not figure out why his leg was always hurting. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't like anything really happened. He just had a bummed leg. But what happened was they went to a past life, and he had lost his leg in an accident.
Oh.
And he carried that energy with him into this life.
Mm.
Once he realized that, the pain was gone, and he never had a problem with his leg since.
I was gonna say I'm reading, I know you also onto the multitude of things that you offer the community. You also sometimes dabble in like a book club, a spiritual book club. And I started reading the reincarnation book that your book club had done a few months ago. And they
Yeah,
talk about like phantom pain or
yeah,
symptoms that you wind up energetically carrying from a past life. This guy in the book, I'm only a few chapters in, but he talks about how, he lives in Paris and he's a scientist or something.
yeah,
And he goes to these retreats, and then all of a sudden he starts having these visions of like World War II, and he's noticing all these different like physical symptoms. And then as he's going into these meditations, he's like, oh, like I feel I am this guy, that fought in World War II. And he's like seeing all of these things that this, gentleman in a past life had seen. And
yeah,
to be open to the possibilities. I am a very big believer in that everything has energy, everything has frequency. Even this, blanket that I'm wrapped in
Yes.
right now has energy, has a frequency to it.
Mhm.
Um, and that's kind of what they say this quantum,
Yep.
general term quantum field, is all energy and frequency. Nicholas Tesla and his,
Oh yeah.
the words escaping me now, but how we're a continuous like flow of energy, the channel going up the spine, spilling out and then pouring back into us. And it's interesting to see how like, your client, or you said you saw it on Julia Cannon's site or whatever, that, he all of a sudden had this pain in the leg. They did a session, saw that he, lost his leg back in a different life or whatever. He brought awareness to it and said, "Oh, I lost my leg at some point. I never had an issue again." And it's like, you just released that energy, you brought it love, and now it's like, okay, I can be free.
Yes. Yeah, that was so cool about BQH is that because the energies, your past lives, your future lives, your lives, all your
Mhm.
ancestors, all of that is everything is so interconnected and entwined in each. That data, the fabric of I can't you entwine the fabrics of life or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's like it's so very true. Even if you're not aware of it,
Hmm.
your body stores that energy. So
Yep.
when you bring an awareness to it, whether you remember specifics or not, you're sending that energy.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm aware of you. Stop.
Yep.
I want to move forward. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Just stop. But then, and that's what I like to do. My spiritual integration healing. When we reach to that point, I'm now more in tune with, okay, we're going to send healing to this. Do I have permission? And the higher self will say yes. We send healing to it. And then it's like they wake up from this BQH and they're just like, I feel better. I don't have this pain. I have a clear thought. I realize something. Whether they tell me what it is or not, that's okay.
Sure.
It's so personal. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
respect that. So I'm just like, well, how do you feel? And then we do a closing prayer or whatever after. And the transformation that happened right there, it just like, it blows my mind. It really does. It's just like, huh. But it has to come from a belief too.
Yeah.
If you believe that it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
Right.
You
Yes.
know what I
And
mean?
that's where the intention comes in too.
Yes.
Like if your belief behind your intention is I'm going to work on this aspect I'm bringing to the table, but really it's not going to work because I didn't see, again, I kind of the thing that keeps coming to my mind is like instant gratification.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would be lying if I said my pants would be on fire if I said I was not a victim of instant gratification, like with energy healing. Just because
Yeah.
like my thought is like, okay, you're working on the energy, you're bringing awareness to it. They always say that like once you bring awareness to it, la la la, butterflies and rainbows. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's not the case. You had mentioned um at the beginning talking about the BQH. That is a tongue twister. Starting the sessions, you might have thought that you healed something or that situation brought awareness and love to it, but maybe you didn't fully let go of
Right.
all of the energy. So maybe it's just a little tiny pea size versus a watermelon size energy, stuck to
Yeah.
whatever,
But
but
that little piece size disrupts the flow,
sure does. Yep.
and I don't know because like I've been working on myself for a couple of years now, and I'm like, hello, I
Um,
believe what's going on, but it's also
uh-huh.
this is a hard pill to swallow. If it's not in your destiny
Hmm.
to heal from something, there's something that you need to learn from it, you know.
Right.
So it really there's a lot of moving parts to it, but for the most part, I'm encouraged. I mean, I'm talking personally for me. I'm very encouraged because I feel I already could see very minor differences, but when other people start saying, "Hey, I realized some things. You're different. You're speaking different. You're doing this different," it's like, yay! It's
It's
validation. It's
working.
actually working. you
Hmm.
know and I think that those little things help with the belief system, even though I believe wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But sometimes when it comes to me, it's kind of like, well, why is it taking so long? So there's something that I'm not seeing or hearing, or there's something I don't want to see or hear, and whether I'm supposed to know what it is or not, it remains to be seen. But it's all a process, but it's all a process,
That damn process.
right? But yeah.
I'm so sick of saying it, but I just have to keep telling myself to trust the process. I've trusted it this far. Why am I going to doubt it? I'm in a pretty good, spot with all of the work that I have done on the innard and the outer. I have
The
just
other
one
one,
question, to maybe tie in everything, because I don't know how we're doing on time, but
I don't know.
and that's okay. We're just flowing, and that's all that matters. But for our listeners that may be just tuning in, just finding us on the podcast or coming across your page, things like that, this difference between like Reiki healing versus BQH versus your energy integration work. So for me, I mean, I have done all of those services with you, so I energetically, personally can tell the difference and the shifts that I have noticed in my life from each session. But for someone who has never done a Reiki session, someone who has never done BQH, someone who has never done energy integration, they kind of all sound the same. So, how would you describe the differences between each of those energy healings, in your own words as a practitioner?
Well, with Reiki, we have symbols. We work with the Reiki masters, the
Mhm.
ascended masters. We work with healing. Gosh, that's a hard question. Okay, so
I was gonna say, I mean, I know it's a lot to unpack because there's just so much to talk about. But if you had to just do like a quick, like somebody asked you, well, I want an energy healing session,
how
well,
would
I
you?
guess, how would you help that client that's coming to you determine which session would be the best?
Well, I do want to clarify all three of those things. It is up to the individual to do the work. The practitioners are channels. We just go where spirit tells us to go to send that energy or whatever. But it's really, really up to the individual to want, to believe, to do the work.
Hmm.
So that I just want to put that out there.
I think
First
that's
and
an important
foremost.
part. Yep, I think that's very important because again, that
Yeah,
instant gratification is going to kick in, I think. Or
yeah.
it did for me personally, and that's the only
Oh,
reason
me
why I'm
too.
throwing that out there.
Oh yeah, no, me too. I mean, come on, I'm an eerie patient. No, it just does not. We don't jive,
It's
but
just not it.
it gotta do it, right? But anyway, so Reiki is more working with symbols, with the Usui or whatever Karuna
Hmm.
Reiki masters that put it together, and we open ourselves up, and we trust the energy will go where it's needed to go.
Hmm.
BQH is more meditative. It's more inner healing intention. I mean, it's
Okay.
all about intention, but it's more like guided and focused and
Like
stuff like that.
specific.
Specific, yeah.
Okay.
Where the higher self brings you, and then we go from there, type of thing.
Okay. Okay.
With the spiritual integration energy healing, I anything goes. I've worked with dragon, I've worked with elements, I've worked with
Mm.
the archangels. It's more spiritual. It's more like from above as below, in between. You know what
Mm.
I mean? Just kind of, and again, it's the same concept. The energy goes where it's needed to go the most, but sometimes I try to pull in that little extra to get that extra oomph and
Okay.
push.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then again, it's up to the individual to do the aftercare, like drink your water, try not
Mm.
to be stressed out, be in your safe place within your heart. But it all comes from the heart. It all
Mm-hmm.
comes from, the the energies and stuff like that
Yep.
that's around you all.
Yeah.
Us
Yep.
all. Us all. That's around us all.
I love that.
So yeah, so I love that you ask about this because I don't get a lot, like I said before, I don't get a lot of questions about it. But when we do these sessions, they're usually about 2 to 3 hours long.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're pretty long.
Yeah, and I do require people to meet with me beforehand so that we can
Hmm.
set everything up, get the intentions out there, get them like prepared, and
Sure.
then we probably more than likely do the next day or someday in the future where we actually go ahead with it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing everything with the Beyond Quantum Healing. I know, like I said, when I first started working with you, you were like brandly new, like certified, just started like really putting yourself out there publicly for BQH. And here I am, I'm like, what does this mean? Let's do it.
So it's like, oh yay, oh no,
Oh
yay,
shoot, now I
oh
gotta do something.
yeah.
And I will say too, like to add in just like one more thing, just because the instant gratification, just like when we talk about
Uh,
energy healing, like that was my biggest drawback, downfall, the thing that kept me kind of stuck, if you will. I'm thinking like when you work out, those endorphins are released and you feel good like
yeah,
right away, instant gratification, right? They say that that's working out is supposed to make you feel that way. So I figured energy healing should be the same way. And this also kind of even just goes back to our like very first episode, just being open to the experience.
yes. And not be
That's
attached to the outcome. That's
yes.
the
And that's
hardest thing.
especially, I think, when you set an intention, and this could be like a whole nother podcast too, is just talking about intention and like really leading with your heart. But when you set a specific intention, like I'll use myself for an example, like setting an intention to heal the inner child and a specific whether it be a memory that I had or a feeling or emotion that I had, or if something came up during meditation that I remembered that I, couldn't consciously remember before, just letting go of like, okay, my intention was to heal the inner child during this situation because I have anger and sadness, resentment and confusion all attached to that scenario or situation. So now, if I'm going into the healing session saying I'm going to heal all of this, in order for all of this to go away and be transmuted into something, instead of anger, it's joy.
Yeah,
Instead of sadness, it's laughter. Instead of resentment, it's unconditional love, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
I have to then not only recognize, okay, I'm angry because of this. I
Mhm,
have resentment because of this. Okay,
mhm.
so I brought awareness. So now let's change it. Let's change the mindset. Let's change the perspective. Let's bring in love and healing to those specific things. And you have to work at it. It's not like a one and done, or at least for me, and maybe that's just because I'm resistant and there's things that I don't want to let go of. Like I've held on to anger and resentment for so long from my
Yeah.
childhood up until my adult years. And I think in one of your meditations, you had brought up like, who would you be if you let go of that anger? And
Oh, yeah.
there's a part of me that's like, I don't know who I would be if I'm not this angry, like deep down. And like,
Yeah.
what is that going to look like if I let go of that anger, that resentment, and I allow in that unconditional love, that laughter, that adventure?
Uh-huh.
And to go through different healing sessions, between Reiki, the spiritual integration, BQH, just doing general meditations to see the growth, and mentioning your stuff, people are validating you and the things that you're doing, the inner work and healing. It brings validation, speaking more clearly and things like that. Um, Me noticing subtle changes in my personality, my energy shifts, my mindsets. You're like, whoa,
Oh,
I only did like 15 sessions on that anger and now I feel joy.
but yeah, a lot of people identify themselves with their anger,
Yep.
with grief. They identify themselves with disappointment, it's really, really sad to see because there's so much more to you than the
Hmm.
anger and the sadness or however. But a big, big, big part of the healing is a substance.
Yes.
A
Yep.
substance. Yeah, I had this experience. Let's move forward. I
Hmm.
give it love. I'm going to move forward. This experience does not define me.
Yep.
I'm moving forward. You know what I mean? And that's what people, because they identify themselves with it. They don't know who they are without that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's kind of all part of the process. I laugh every time we say that.
The damn process.
Yeah.
I just have,
Yes.
the angry emotion from Inside Out.
Yes.
That's like
Boom.
when you say trust the process, that's the emotion that's going off in my head. Like,
Yes. Oh my gosh, but I love it because it's like it's a self-discovery thing, finding out
mm,
who are you? Who are
yeah,
you? You know, and where do we go from here? And
yep,
this is something that is oh gosh, it's a very hard, what is it? What do they call this? Situational uh
situational awareness.
yeah, we're okay, I'm in this situation. What do I do with it now?
Mm,
How do I find it? How do I go my way? And a lot of it is looking past so that you can heal from it, so that you can move forward and find your way. It's amazing what people find out. And it's not up to me to tell them, it's up to them to figure it out. I
hmm.
can guide them. I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying I know what your purpose is, but
No, yeah,
I can guide you there and then you take it from there, you know?
yep.
And then,
Ultimately, it's in your hands.
yes, yes.
You as
And
the client, not you as in Lyra. It's
oh,
ultimately in you as the client hands.
yeah, yeah. When and I like that my mentor was saying everything comes from the heart space.
Hmm.
And getting those two in balance, the mind heart coherence and balance, that's the trick.
That is the work.
And that is my goal for everybody.
Yeah, everybody, you hear that? That's our goal. That's her goal.
Woo-hoo. Okay. We need to move. Oh, I'm showing my age there. Woo-hoo.
That's funny.
Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, everybody's journey is different. Everybody, there's
Hmm.
no cookie cutter way to get
Hmm.
there. Some take the long way, some take the short way. It's really, really up to the individual.
Yep. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
wow, my dear, thank you for this lovely talk,
Thank you.
and I hope you guys all have a great day, and we will connect again.
Yep, sounds good. If anybody has questions about BQH or any other energy healing sessions, please reach out to Lyra. She has a website. She'll drop it down below. You can find her on Facebook, and get just more information about what BQH is all about.
Yeah,
I hope
and
you
our
enjoyed.
lovely Ashley here does do distant energy healing. If
I
you want to
do.
reach out to Ashley,
Thank you for the plug. I do
yeah,
energy healing. I just am not I have the muggle job is what I've described on previous episodes, so I don't
yeah,
do
but
it.
maybe we
I'd
can get
like to.
you out of that. We may even do a couple dual energy healings. What do you think about that?
I mean, any way that I can get to this being like my full-time thing, I'm all about it because I am not born to be a muggle, man. Exhausting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, everybody. Hope to see you soon. And like, comment, subscribe, and please let us know any future talks you would like us to
Hmm.
touch upon. All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Bye.